Hey folks, thanks for joining me for another episode of Taco King Art. I can't believe it's been almost a year since the channel went up on YouTube, and in a year's time I think I've completed about maybe 7 videos, including this one. That might not be a lot by some standards, but to me I think it's quite an accomplishment. It takes a lot of time to set up these videos and edit them and add sound. So it takes quite a bit of time away from the comic itself. So, I mean, there are times when I just start drawing and I'm kind of too lazy to set up cameras, and it makes the comic process move a lot faster, but then I'm not sharing it with you, and part of the goal is to share in the creative process and get your input and feedback along the way. So part of the challenge has been trying to figure out exactly what to share with you guys that would be interesting or compelling to watch, because some of the drawing process is like really long and drawn out. So working on refining that, but I would like to share current progress with you on finished pages. So let's do that now. Okay, I brought up the file for some of the most recent pages that I've completed for the comic book, and I wanted to show you progress, but I also wanted to share a few ideas with you about how I've been working lately, or how I'm trying to work. So I have a standard size comic book here, and I also have these templates that I've created, and I wanted to go over how these kind of like relate. So here I have kind of like a thumbnail template for a standard size comic book. This is like the standard size page. If I were to lay this down into the corner and bring this corner down here, that would be a shrunken down version. So these are kind of what I've been trying to use lately, although I can't say that I've totally been married to using these, because sometimes I work so fast that I don't end up using them. But I am trying to get a little more organized, and maybe someone out there will see this and maybe create their own templates out of foam board, and it'll help them out. So just to note, this is dimensions on this one says 6.7 by 10.2. This is actually outdated already, because I've checked the website for the printing company that I've decided to go with, and they've changed the dimensions of their comic book ever so slightly. But I do think that this template will still work for creating thumbnail sketches. So let me go over some of the other sizes with you. Okay, and these are all kind of shrunken down to about 70%, except for this one. So I got 1/4 of a page, I got 1/3 of a page, this one's 1/12 of the page, but this one's at 100%. And mostly because if I were to shrink this down to 70%, it'd be too small to draw in comfortably, so I just kept this one at 100%. This is 1/2 of a page, and this one is 1/4 of a page. So that's that. And then I also have these, which these are actually more for like television or film. So these are in an aspect ratio of 16:9, and which is kind of like widescreen TV. And I use these a lot to concept storylines before I move into these. So this is kind of like the first thing I use, because my first concern is laying out a story and seeing how it flows and figuring out, what are the characters saying and what's happening in the scene. And I'm not thinking too much about how is this going to lay out onto a comic page. So this is what I start with. And then I go on to this phase of using this and kind of laying out the comic page. But let me show you how this worked for the latest comic that I made. And this took a really long time to create, because I don't work on projects from start to finish. I usually work on multiple projects in parallel to each other, so it could pretty much take me forever to finish a comic. So this one's been in the works for a while, and when I first started, I think I was using this kind of loosely, not too, yeah, it's close, but it's not exact. But that's how I started. So essentially, this is the first phase. I'm trying to lay out a storyline, and I also have some text in these, trying to figure out what characters are saying or what's happening. And then I moved on to page like this. And if I pull this one up, this is kind of like where I went kind of rogue, and I didn't exactly use a comic template for this, but this is the same thing as like one whole comic page, and it's close but not exact. This is where I didn't use the template. And then I'm kind of creatively trying to lay out the frames. And then I did a color study, and this is dated like August 2022, which is kind of a long time ago. So yeah, that gives you an indication of how long this has been in the works. It's like I work on it, and then I drop it for a while, and I work on something else, and then I pick it back up. But at least that gives you time to, like, once you pick it back up, you can see some of your mistakes more clearly, and you can see if your story's making sense. And gives you some perspective to, like, put it down for a while, and then you pick it back up later. All right, so I did a color study. This looks like it was done in maybe like watercolor pencil, roughly. And after I did this, I liked it, but I decided to do it all in black and white in the end. And these are kind of like the final sketches. I think this is the first page. This is the second page. So if I lay this comic book over this page, you can see that it's 1-to-1, kind of the same size. And I think it's just, this paper is 9x12, and that's the size of the page that I'm most comfortable working in. I know some comic artists work at double the size, but I don't have time to work double the size. And the other thing is, I'm not comfortable working in a page that large, and this feels more comfortable to me. So so these ended up being like, I didn't like this, so I taped over it and drew it again. So this was close to what it ended up being, but not quite. I still ended up changing a lot of things directly in Procreate. Just over time, your concepts change. Like, for example, in this frame, I have humans in this frame, and then I scrapped them because I'm like, okay, in Taco King's world, there will be no humans, and so I got rid of that concept. So let's go over the final. Let's have some final printouts. So this is what it ended up being. I kind of liked the this film noirish kind of black and white look. I did a lot of like deep shadows in this page, and I think it went decently. It just took forever to accomplish. As you can see, I got rid of the humans in it, and I don't want to go over the whole storyline because I think you guys can like just gather it from either looking at these drawings, or you can buy the comic book eventually and see if you like the storyline. There are some things that I do have to fix, and maybe that is that, like for example, this background, the details in the background are kind of hard to see because it's mostly black, and I noticed that like on the digital version, I can see the details more readily, but I can't see it on the printout. So I have to look at that a little bit more, and maybe it could be that this is just a low quality printout. Okay, so now that we went over the printed versions, let's go into the Procreate time-lapse video. All right, here we are back in the Procreate time-lapse portion of the video where I do a little commentary about what went well or what didn't go so well in this comic, and generally I feel like it went pretty well, and it was quite challenging to get this one done. I usually talk about color in this portion of the video, but I chose not to do color, so that eliminating that factor gave me the opportunity to concentrate on other things. So this one I concentrated more on my line work. I did some hatching and I did some patterns in the background, and I also concentrated on lighting a scene fairly decently, fairly accurately. There's also some perspective in some of these shots. So all of that combined made it pretty challenging to put this one together, but it was very satisfying at the end. So for the next video, it's going to be an interesting one because we're going to be doing a studio update, and it's also going to be a Christmas related video. So we're going to do some Christmas decorations. So there's not going to be as much art in that one, but it should still be a fun video. So tune in for that one. I hope you like and subscribe for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.